Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, one of the most dreaded letters you will ever receive is a letter from the IRS saying you're being audited. So what do? Well, you hire a guy like my next guest. Fabian Cruz is in the studio. He's the founder of Cito Tax. His journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I have been blessed to date. I've been employed now for 40 plus years, and I've never received that dreaded letter from the IRS saying you're being audited. But if I did, I would get a pro to come in and help me with that. And that describes my next guest. Fabian Cruz is in the studio, founder of Cito Tax. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
And I love your backstory. So tell us how this all began for you.
Well, the way it started was a number of years ago, my parents received that letter from the IRS in the mail, and it was really that they were given some real bad tax advice from their tax preparer. And they reached out to me, and as the oldest son, I was doing my best to help them. And we were able, actually, let me backtrack a little bit. I remember my mom saying when she called how scared she was and how she felt like her life was on hold, which actually has inspired the tagline for our company, is that you deserve your life back. Well, eventually we're able to get their case resolved using a tax resolution company, and that was an experience in of itself. It was very challenging. For example, the communication with them. Every time we called in, we dealt with someone new. We had to explain the whole case to them, and they told us that they would give us a call back, and if we're lucky, it was 2 or 3 days later. And at that time, I started to really dive into tax resolution. And then I looked at my experience from corporate America, and I realized it transitioned over. So I got certified and took the plunge and started Cito Tax Resolution.
Wow, I'm so impressed with you. We're going to show some video from our library, and as we do this, a lot of people have a CPA, but a CPA may not be prepared to fight the IRS on a disagreement. So tell us about why it's so important to get the right person in your corner.
Sure. Well, as a CPA, you can kind of look at them as far as like internal practice physician, and with back taxes, it's very specific to non-tax compliance. So what we do is we go in there and we find out as far as what exactly is going on with the IRS. We do this by we actually pull transcripts directly from the IRS into our software, and this allows us to take a look to see exactly what's going on with your case, and that allows us to analyze and create a plan of resolution to get the IRS happy.
Tell me one of your favorite success stories.
Yes. So it was an older gentleman, and his wife was battling cancer. And he sold off part of his farm in order to be able to afford to pay for her treatment. Unfortunately, she lost her battle with cancer, but he got hit with a $300,000 capital gains tax, and there was absolutely zero way he could afford to pay for this. And so we got involved, and we were able to show the IRS that he was actually underwater every month. So the IRS agreed to go into a cannot collect situation. And so essentially they wrote off that $300,000, and he still owns his farm today.
Wow. And you were telling me before the show that your goal is to save people like 90% on their money?
Absolutely. So one of the strategies is an offer and compromise, where looking at your financials, we show the IRS, we try to create a plan as far as reducing that amount. And our goal as a firm is to settle for 11 cents on every dollar.
My sense is, and maybe I'm giving the government the benefit of the doubt, that they're really after like shell companies and people who are trying to trick them and create, do tax fraud. They're not really after the farmer that you described, are they?
Actually, well, let me tell you a little bit about what we're looking at for this coming year. That's the best way to answer it. We are already seeing an increase in collection notices across the board. We're seeing an increase in audits, and I believe for this next coming year, here in 2025, we're going to see stronger enforcement. And this has been actually across the board.
Wow. What would you say separates you from others in your field?
I would say our focus is strictly tax resolution. Everyone on our team is dedicated to tax resolution, and that is our specialty. We don't do tax preparation like coming up here on April the 15th when people run down to H&R Block to get their taxes filed. We don't do that kind of work. Our only focus is fighting for our clients, on behalf, dealing with the IRS.
And we were talking before the show that you've built something of a reputation so that when you come on the phone on someone's behalf, the IRS knows they're dealing with somebody who knows what they're doing.
That's right. What we've seen is the IRS has hired quite a few people that don't have any background in the IRS, and they haven't been trained much. And so when we get on the phone and we are certified, we are trained, they know exactly that they're dealing with people who know the tax code. So because of that, they're willing to work with us more.
Outstanding. Okay, so in the last minute or so, why don't you look into that camera on the left and talk to the person who just received that letter or might receive that letter in the coming days. What does it look like to work with you?
Well, the first thing I would say is don't be afraid. There is help out there. The second thing I would say is don't be embarrassed. Conservatively, over 8 million collection notices went out last year. And also get us in the picture as quick as possible, because we want to get a collection hold placed on your account, because we want to prevent any kind of garnishments or levies against your personal accounts. And then from there, we're going to go into analysis, and then we're going to find a permanent resolution to your case.
Well, I can see why you're so successful. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your journey. We're also going to leave with his website, which is citotax.com, the great Fabian Cruz. Thanks for coming on the show.
And you can also reach me at 1-800-CITO Tax.
Perfect.
Thank you.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.